My name is Andrew Daly. I'm originally from Wisconsin. I now live in Northville, Michigan. As a young kid, I never really had the foundation to set me up for a physically healthy life. Growing up, I never really was taught what proper physical health and nutritional health really was. All the way through high school, I avoided gym class like the plague. I was never athletic. I hated anything to do with sports. After high school, I joined the Air Force. When I was actively serving in the Air Force, I got into a really bad car accident. I took a car, launched it over the side of an embankment, went airborne, rotated that car upside down while I was airborne, and then when the car landed, it landed on the roof and then rolled. And then the action of coming back into the vehicle with the roof coming down on my head caused my spine to compression. I have many disc bulges, herniations in my back, and I've actually had a spinal fusion on my lower back. And after a medical evaluation, I was deemed no longer fit to serve. I was medically discharged from the Air Force. As the years went on, I needed to somehow manage the pain but still be able to live. And the answer at that point in those years was just use opiates to cover up and mask the pain. It was the best solution. I'll never forget being given everything from hydrocodone, Oxycontin. I used to get it in the mail literally by the truckload. Every day a new pill bottle was coming, even if I didn't ask for it. As the years went on, obviously the opiate epidemic came into full light, and opiates were no longer considered to be the right tool to mask pain. I was being put under anesthesia. I was in a constant battle with my weight because I was in pain. I wasn't being as physically active. Sometimes I'd use food to be able to cope with the pain. You know, comfort food always made you feel better, got your mind off of the other aspect of your life, which was pain. And it was a vicious circle. I was never happy with my body. I was always very conscious of how I looked. I always had that typical pesky weight and look that made me uncomfortable, but what was I going to do about it? So I started going to the gym and I worked out as much as I could. I thought I was doing what I could to make myself physically conditioned without potentially hurting my back, and nothing was working. I would go to the gym, work out for an hour, and then come home and think, why am I not looking like everyone else at the gym? I started getting lab results back saying, you have high cholesterol, you have chemical imbalances that are concerning, you've got high blood pressure, you have a high heart rate. You know, all these things add up to heart disease and other things that can go wrong. So of course the doctor's answer was, you need to start considering that you're getting older and this is just a natural progression of age, and you're going to start running into things like high cholesterol, which may not necessarily be because of your diet, but might be because of your genetics. The same for heart rate. You know, it can be caused by things like high sodium, but it can also be caused by just genetic predisposition. So the answer to this is to take, again, a pill. A pill a day will keep the doctor away. I start taking the medicine, high cholesterol, heart medicine to keep that heart rate down, and I go about my life. I continue to go to the gym. It clearly is a losing battle. Every so often my weight goes up a couple pounds, then I stabilize, my weight never goes down. So I'll never forget being at Lifetime Fitness, laying there exhausted, not understanding why nothing is working, looking around me going, wow, there's people here that look like they're doing better than I am. Why isn't this working for me? I have to change something. What am I going to do next? Maybe a weight loss surgery? Do I even qualify for that? It was January of 2020. I started looking up other gyms because there was one thing that I was convinced of. The problem wasn't me. It wasn't my fault, and there had to be an easy solution. I always am looking for the magic pill to be able to fix whatever my problem is. And I remember sitting there, and I had heard about Mecca in conversations with people, but I never thought Mecca was a place for me. I had looked up Mecca online, I had read some of the reviews, and I always thought that Mecca was a place where athletes go, young athletes aspiring to go pro, you were trying to excel in, and that Mecca wasn't just going to be a place for someone like me who's looking to actually improve their life. After a while of constantly looking at all the different things I could find online about Mecca, I thought, you know, if it's good enough for these people, why isn't it something that would be good enough for me? I remember seeing pro athletes from, like, for example, the Detroit Lions training here. And I thought, well, wait a second. If a Detroit Lion is training at Mecca during their off season, why would I think that it's not good enough for me as a real estate broker? And I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna go drive up there. It's up the road. I literally went down to the locker room, didn't even work out that day and grabbed my bag and left. And I drove up here. I didn't call, and I walked in the front door. That was by far the hardest step, walking through the front door. I got into the lobby, and I remember hearing the loud music coming from behind the front desk wall. And the first thing I thought is, this isn't for me. This is one of those gyms where everyone looks 1,000 times better. Everyone is 1,000 times more physically conditioned, and it's going to be so intimidating. Why am I even here? But the first thing I did when I walked in is I looked at all the pictures on the wall, and I remember seeing all the before and after. And I thought, well, gosh, not everyone walks in here in their best condition. And look at these before pictures. I remember when I did the assessment, I had no idea if what I was doing was considered average, good. I went back up to the front desk and I said to Logan, well, what do I need to do? He set me up with Jared, who is my coach today, and I think I started the very next day. I came in the gym. I maybe oversold myself by saying that I had been going to the gym every day, which is true, I was. I didn't say that I was just laying on the gym floor every day at Lifetime, but I did go to the gym every day. And we started the warm-up. I thought, well, this is gonna be easy. I think I got to about the third warm-up and I was laying on the floor and I couldn't breathe. And I remember thinking, what did I get myself into? I literally couldn't get up. And I thought, how many sessions did I sign up for? Because I can't even get through this warm-up. And they think I'm gonna be able to do the rest of this. Like, what were they thinking? And we spent the entire day getting through the warm-up. I thought, gosh, they want me to do this warm-up every single day. Like, isn't that enough? Why do I need to do any other type of workout? I got better at the warm-up as time went on, but it's still, that warm-up kicks your ass. Obviously, not being into a certain specific sport, not looking to ever compete in bodybuilding or weightlifting, my goals are all aesthetic and health related. When I first started here, I was just shy of 30% body fat. What seemed like a lifetime, but it was probably a week or two of training with Jared. I remember thinking, this is hard. This is really hard. This training is kicking my ass. How am I gonna get through the sessions I paid for? Set all that aside. I have a goal. I've paid for the training. I'm never gonna make it. I owe it to myself to do what I need to do to get through this. Just like that, a light switch went on and I changed. I contacted my doctor and I said, I'm doing something I've never done before. I'm doing a level of physical activity I've never attempted. What are your thoughts? And he said, let's give it a shot. This is how you safely get off cholesterol and high blood pressure medication. We'll evaluate it, and then you'll get back on if necessary. I got off immediately. I've never been back on again. It was another time in my life where I needed to follow blind faith, listen to a professional in a field that I'm not an expert in, allow myself to be coachable, and it was revolutionary. It immediately affected, again, my training. And I'm a better person today because of it. And I'll live a longer, healthier life because of it. I did not need to be on these medications. What I needed to do was to change my life in every aspect, from what I eat to my physical condition. Now today, my body fat is at 15%. So I've lost 50% of my entire body fat. It's interesting because what I haven't done is lost weight. I've actually gained weight. I've gained 50 to 60 pounds of muscle in 2 years. And it's pretty interesting stepping on that scale and seeing that higher number and actually being happy with it and not being devastated by it. And it's because I'm more concerned, obviously, about the body fat percentage going down. Actually quite happy the weight is going up because it means more muscle. My clothes fit better and I look better as a result of that. It's been pretty revolutionary. The photo I took when I first walked in this gym on day one compared to a photo now, I literally don't look like the same person. And I owe it all to Mecca. The one thing that makes Mecca truly unique is how many different types of people train at Mecca. The one thing everyone has in common is when you show up here, you put in 100%. Your coach will expect that from you and will allow you to produce nothing less. Mecca has everything from very young people, athletes that are just getting started in their specific sport, to people who are working professionals, even people who are stay-at-home parents and spouses who are looking to ensure that they can live long, productive lives, to true professional athletes that are pro level, training in their off season. And there are retirees that train at Mecca who are ensuring that they can enjoy their retirement for years to come. The one thing that I've noticed at the end of that day's training, I've started realizing it's like, wow, we're done already. That was so hard while I was doing it. You instantly forget about that. And then you think, gosh, that's it? Time's up? How is that even possible? And you leave on that high. You kind of look back and you think, I really got the most out of that. And going into each weekend, I've noticed how much happier I am with myself physically. Like how much easier it is to look in the mirror and to go, wow, you did that, and look at how physically you're changing as a result of it. That is the coolest thing for me, is to be able to look in the mirror and to reflect back and think of how far I've come.